And Shalo, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Today is a significant day for the Zulu nation. 143 years ago to this day, the Zulus, with vastly inferior military technology, defeated the British Army. Now, before we get to the history of the day, can we deal with today's legal battle? King MisuZulu has won, but it then says to the ordinary citizen, there's clearly great significance in addressing today's event because a faction within the royal house went to great lengths to prevent his address. Just talk to me about the significance of today and for MisuZulu as the king to address that event.
Please allow me not to get involved in the legalities of what's happening in the royal family. I think let's leave that to the courts and perhaps even to the royal family itself. I'm here to talk about the significance of Isandlwana Day, which was today. You know, as Goke said, it's 143 years ago. The Zulu will forever be proud of what they achieved on that day. And it was, remember, this is the first time that the British, which was at the top of their game at that time, they were the biggest army in the world. They'd never been defeated before until they were defeated by the Zulu. But the Zulu did not only stop at defeating them on this day, 153 years ago, they achieved a whole number of milestones. And it was even beyond the land issue. It was actually a religious war because some women who were married to one of the Zulu, main generals had converted to Christianity without telling anybody. So when the husband and the family where they were married, they said, look, we're not happy that you guys have become Christians without letting us know. The British used that as one of the reasons why they wanted to attack the Zulu. And when the Zulu were attacked by the British, they thought it was going to be a walkover. However, they were shocked at the Zulu brevity. They were very brave, and the tactical plans that they did to attack them in Isandlwana is even today unprecedented. Let me tell you some of the achievements of today. One of the things that happened 143 years ago is that the Zulu put an end to the one of Europe's oldest dynasties, the French. Most people are not aware of that. That today the French do not have a royal family because they were killed during the Isandlwana War. And secondly, the Prime Minister of England at that time, Disraeli, when he found out that his mighty British army had been defeated, he said, who are these remarkable people who put an end to my dynasty, who convert my bishops and defeat my generals? So the Zulu will forever remain a very important psyche in the British history. Again, the Zulu killed the most number of officers of the British army on that particular day. And hence, those who were killed by the British obviously got a lot of Victoria Crosses because they were just in denial that people that they didn't respect because they were out in Africa could achieve such a huge thing, you know? So even the Zulu have special songs to commemorate today. And it's just a pity that there are now legalities about whether His Majesty King MisuZulu should speak or not today. It's neither here nor not. He is a Zulu king. He's loved by the people. Izinduna and Namabuto have accepted him as such. So we're just looking forward that he can lead us as the Zulu people. And we're so excited that he's young. He's got a vision to take us forward. And we're just waiting for better days to come.
I'm glad I've got you there to comment a little bit on that succession. But if we confine ourselves, nevertheless, to the battle itself, January was almost that perfect time to invade the Zulu nation, given that it coincided with that harvest period we saw here in history books, when warriors were generally scattered around attending to their civilian duties. But it seems King KaZwelithini was more than prepared for that invasion. Just talk to me about how the first fruit ceremony worked to the Zulus' advantage in this respect.
I know we don't have a lot of time. Let me just tell you, the culmination of the war in January 22nd actually started in 1878 on the 6th of April, when the Afrikaners were defeated. So from that day on, they knew, the Zulu knew, King KaZwelithini knew that the British will never forgive him for that, number one. So it was a culmination of events that came up. I think there were 4 other battles that the Afrikaners and the British together lost. So this is why by the time it was January 22nd, they needed a war against the Zulu because they could not believe that they kept losing to the Zulu. You see, so it's been a culmination of battles. So and then Isandlwana was the climax of all the battles. And by the way, Today is the day when the Isandlwana war started. It actually went on until September, because when the actual battle was fought over 3 or 4 days, from there were guerrilla tactics and guerrilla units that were fighting against the British spread throughout the kingdom. And people keep saying, oh, you know, the Zulu were defeated Isandlwana sometime in July. That is not factually true. They bent down Ulundi, the capital, in July the 4th. But the war did not stop there. It stopped sometime in September, simply because the people were hungry. They had not been able to get the food from the fields, as you are saying, as you currently pointed out. So, and it was stopped around by Abakulus, which are somewhere next to, you know, Vryheid, Dundee area, you know. So the Zulu did an amazing feat to be able to pull a war for over 9 months without getting fresh soldiers, whereas the British had to bring in more soldiers over and over from England to try and sustain the war. So,
no, it was certainly a very rich history. It most certainly is a very rich history. And you then ask yourself, what more can the Minister of Arts and Culture do to preserve this history among the African people?
You know, I guess the government has got priorities and, you know, pressures that they must take care of. But I imagine, even without looking at government, you know, us as Zulus, we should be able to do our own things. Why don't the Zulu themselves celebrate it? Today, we put King Shaga's day was murdered in the national calendar. We should be able to do that with the Isandlwana as well, because they call it Heritage Day, 24th of September. It's actually King Shaka Day, because the Zulu, every year from apartheid days, it was a holiday for Zulu, so for the Zulu people. So it then, you know, culminated into the Heritage Day. I'm sure you understand why everybody would then wear Zulu clothes, the Zulu traditional clothes, even if they're not Zulu. It has got to do with the psyche. So I think for today's day, it's very important that we put it on the map as the Zulu people. And I must say, I'm really proud of you guys to take time out as the media to give it the prominence that it deserves. Because even in England, we have the great-grandchildren of the generals who were killed in Isandlwana. They come here every year to come and see where their great-grandfathers were killed. So we should actually treat this day as a very special day for us.
And it's important that those children actually are celebrated themselves, because I think 1,000 to 3,000 men actually lost their life that day. And in fact, we could consider them freedom fighters. But clearly enough needs to be done on that part.
Absolutely. And it is more than, you know, they were fighting for the last piece of land that we could protect. And the bravery of the day showed that the Zulu would never walk away. I mean, without taking anything away from them, that the Zulu people are the last people to fight a conventional war in 1906. This is the last time they fought a conventional war. So the spirit of fighting and standing up what belongs to them, and especially the land, which obviously will then spill over to the Ngoyama Trust issue, you know, that's why they cannot part with it. Because when you touch the Zulus, you're talking about their land, all these things, you know, it revokes all the things that they have to go through. There is no Zulu person whose family member, one way or the other, was not involved in Isandlwana. And sometimes when the Zulu are relaxed and having a good time and they tease one another, they always say, what did your family do? What role did your family do to protect the land of the Zulu during Isandlwana? Because it's a very important day in the calendar, you know, on top of any other day that we have.
No, Ms. Mbata, thank you very much for your time. I think King Cetshwayo must be celebrated even more. That is Royal Zulu historian. She's also a lecturer at the University of Zululand.